Daniel Ricciardo has not been at his best for many years now, but things weren't always like this for him. And today, I'm gonna tell you how good he was back in the day, starting with the Chinese Grand Prix in 2018.
To the lead of a race, Daniel Ricciardo becomes a new winner in Formula One. The Team Russia now comes to take the checkered flag and win for a second time in Formula One. Daniel Ricciardo wins the Hungarian races. He wins the Belgian Grand Prix.
This time you led from the front.
Sainz and the Sauber, so Marcus Ericsson goes down into 15th. Carlos Sainz.
Ricciardo started 6th in this race, and with just 20 laps to go, he had to overtake 5 drivers to win. But back in the day, Ricciardo lived for and was known for moments like these. First, he had to go through Kimi Räikkönen, which is not an easy job, but he did and did it with perfection. Then his teammate Verstappen let him through, and with that, P4 was his. Next up ahead of him was Sir Lewis Hamilton, but there was no stopping him that day. He overtook him and the crowd went crazy. He then went past Sebastian Vettel with ease, and also Valtteri Bottas at the end, and that was the race win for him. All the other drivers had a tough time overtaking each other. Ricciardo, he did that as smoothly as one could, and showed others how it's done. That Ricciardo was something else. While this race is remembered fondly, as far as the next one goes, people don't rate it that much. The British GP 2014.
Daniel Ricciardo's got the inside line and down into turn 3. The celebrations for Daniel Ricciardo are going to be absolutely massive in the race so far. What a Belgian Grand Prix this has been. Mercedes locked out the front row.
I guess for that long, it's more about composure and just looking at your lap times. Definitely a bit different. When you lead the race, it's...
Ricciardo likes to do this very often in his races. He runs so long in the middle part of the race that he can have fresher tires at the end. We've seen him do it the other way around as well. He worked this strategy to perfection in England. He started the race in 8th position and was on the hard tires. Well, strategies don't always work, and you need some kind of luck as well. And Ricciardo was lucky that day. The race was red flagged in the very first lap, and Ricciardo made the most of it. He ran for a short time on the hards and then switched to mediums. And it was a long stint on those mediums. He made his way up the field smoothly and slowly, while other cars pitted. Ricciardo was in no mood to do that. With the perfect tire management and strategies, he got his place on that podium. He finished 3rd and wrapped off one of his best performances. Speaking of tire management and strategies, this next one involved that too, and got better results. The 2014 Hungarian GP.
Lights out and away we go. They weren't held for long, and Verstappen does get away well. Alongside him is Daniel Ricciardo, and Ricciardo, he wins the Monaco Grand Prix. Daniel Ricciardo at one stage looked well out of this race.
This is close. It's much closer than he was to Hamilton.
Well, he had a turbo failure in practice. He very nearly missed out on qualifying. A quite incredible record. 6 wins in 4.
Daniel always had a clear strategy coming into any race. What was it? To overtake like a maniac on the track. Ricciardo always finds the teeny tiny bits of space to overtake, and he just goes for it. He never thinks twice about it, and this race involved a lot of it. Yes, tire management still played a part in the win, but it was his skill and determination as well. He started P4, and after an impressive run, he still had Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso ahead of him. And y'all know how these two are. They never give you any space to overtake. So where will you go now? But Ricciardo only had one thing in mind, and that was to somehow win that race. And guess what? He did just that. If you're a Ricciardo fan, this one must definitely be in your top faves. Speaking of which, let's talk about the 2014 Belgian GP.
After Alonso and take a second win of the season, but he just hasn't got the traction out of turn 2, and Ricciardo once more.
Come on, gentlemen, you're on the podium here in Azerbaijan. You can't refuse a drink from the winner.
Is up into 2nd place, and that one was the easier move. 3 laps to go then. We're on board with the man in...
Yes, yet another race from that 2014 season. He was sensational that year, wasn't he? He started P5 and finished P1, of course. But I'll say that some of the credit for this victory also goes to Nico Rosberg. He clipped the wheel of his teammate Lewis Hamilton. And with that, Mercedes' whole day went down the drain. But the race wasn't won just yet. He still had to pass Fernando Alonso and his teammate Sebastian Vettel. Ricciardo marvelously kept his cool throughout the race, went past those two, and went home with a race win. It was a perfect win in so many ways. But what's coming up next wasn't just a win. It was much more than just that. The 2014 Abu Dhabi GP. Ricciardo had 3 wins in 2014, but this one was much better than all those wins. It's a shame that this race doesn't get highlighted enough because of those victories. It was a chilly night in Abu Dhabi, and initially, Ricciardo did have a good qualifying session. He finished P5, but then the team was told that the front wings of their cars weren't at par with the park firm regulations. So their qualifying times were cancelled, and Red Bull was forced to start from the back of the field. But Ricciardo was having none of it. He wanted to finish off his season in style, and boy did he do just that. Overtake after overtake after overtake. This is what we saw from him the whole night. He made overtaking look like a piece of cake. And wait for it, he also overtook 2 cars at the same corner. Beautiful. He finished P4 to wrap up a sensational season and a brilliant race. Speaking of brilliant races, 2017 Azerbaijan GP. Like, I can't not mention this one. During his time with Red Bull, there was one thing that frustrated Ricciardo the most. Any guesses? It was Mercedes' dominance. 5 of the races that he won were because the cars ahead of him had a failure or they crashed. And by saying that, I don't mean he didn't deserve any of those wins. He absolutely deserved those, and there was still a lot to do for him to win, and he did all that to perfection. Those late overtakes and always being at the right place to pounce on your opponent's mistake is a skill. Coming back to the Azerbaijan GP, everything went right for him there. Everything. There was a crash in the qualifying session, so he was forced to start P10, but that wasn't holding him back. But some problems with his car forced him into an early pit stop, and he came on the track at P17. Imagine winning the race from that position. Yeah, everything went his way, but you need immense skills to pull a victory like this. Kez late braking and whatnot from him, but then Vettel received a 10-second penalty for dangerous driving, and Hamilton had some bodywork failure. Both of them went to the pits, and there was Ricciardo, all alone at P1. He raced to victory to cap off a mind-blowing session from P17 to P3. It was all Ricciardo, by the way. He only got lucky in the end, and while we're on the topic of luck, he had none in this final one, the 2018 Monaco GP. Yeah, that famous Monaco GP. It surely was the best race of his career. Not just the best win, the best race of his career. He was the quickest in the practice sessions and also in the qualifying. He started the race ahead of everyone. It wasn't until lap 28 that everything was going fine for him. On the 28th lap, his car started losing power. Turns out it was an MGU-K failure. Seriously, at this point in the race, how unlucky can one be? His car had 25% less power than everyone else. And that's not all. He only had 6 gears to drive that car. He was lucky with one thing though, that it was Monaco. If it were someplace else, he would never have won the race. He somehow managed to hold his position, sensationally crossed the line, and won the race. No one thought he would win, but he still did. That's all from my side. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.